Hey, check one, two. Hey, hey, hey. Check, check, check. One, two. I don't have any sound. Hopefully you do. Check one, two. All right, now we have sound. Apologize for that. Hey, check one, two. Perfect. Come a little closer. Hello and welcome to The Pulse. Very excited to share this immersion with you, and I want to thank you for signing up. Thank you for being here. Congratulations. We're about to embark upon a journey. So the pulse is coming from this term called spanda, which is in the tantric yoga lineage means the pulsation or the dance between contraction and expansion that is happening all around us and within us. We can see it within, or we can experience it within the pulse of our heartbeat. The blood gets pumped through our body from a contraction and expansion of the heart. Same thing with our lungs. You notice that when you inhale, the lungs expand. When you exhale, the lungs contract, and that happens in the rib cage as well as the diaphragm. It happens in all things. When we look at the different seasons, there's a pulse. So in all of nature, there is a pulse. In all of nature, there is a contraction and expansion. And if we can invite or recognize that and notice that it is part of our experience of being human, by the way, I'm always coming from this foundational understanding that as a human being, we are a part of nature. So if it exists within nature, it exists within us. And in the tantric lineage, they're always talking about that pulse of that consciousness is constantly in this pulsation, this dance of contraction and expansion. So when thinking about the appropriate title for this immersion that was going to be focused on strength and flexibility, I thought the pulse would be a really powerful way to be linking our physical practice to a more off the mat, spiritual and connected emotionally, mentally, and just in our life kind of practice, what the yogis call sadhana. Okay, so let's get down to the physical sides of things, and we'll unravel this conversation around the pulse and spanda as we go along throughout this immersion. But when it comes down to flexibility, which is the part that I sort of pitched to all of you as the reason you should sign up, to become more flexible. What I've become aware of over my years of teaching yoga is that there's a strong drive towards flexibility. So like I asked many of you who did the handstand training, I want to know, I don't personally want to know, but I'd love for you to reflect upon what the drive is towards flexibility, meaning what do you think you will feel or experience when you are more flexible? What about flexibility attracts you? It's something that has been touted as important for the physical body, important for humanity to stay flexible. So what about it for you drives you? And the reason that's important is because like the pursuit of something like handstand, flexibility in that pursuit can really be misconstrued in our intentions, meaning we may have a feeling that when we are flexible, something will occur for us. We will then be pain-free, or we will then be more mobile, or we'll be more graceful, or we'll be able to do things that we couldn't have done. What is it for you? If you can get clear on that, then as you go along and develop flexibility, you can start to actually assess if it's providing you with what you think you want. And also the approach matters. So if you're really clear on your intention, and this goes for any goal, so happy New Year to everybody. If you're setting a New Year's resolution, for that matter, this is a really good conversation to be talking about. Um, the resolution or the goal that you have in mind is really important to get you stepping on the path, but the intention behind that goal is more important, because as you're moving towards that goal, you want to know why you had that goal in mind. That way, as you start achieving or moving into the realization or the manifestation of that goal, you can assess whether it's bringing you what you intended. Is it bringing you that fulfillment that you were looking for? Is it bringing you that feeling of health or joy or lightness or freedom or whatever, or love, whatever it is that you felt you were lacking in, that's got you to step on the path, which, by the way, I don't think is a bad thing, but it's not I think we all have this feeling of lack within us. That's part of nature's way of getting progression and development and what's the word I'm looking for? Evolution to happen, is that we have a feeling that we're missing something. So we go and we start creating, we start building, we start taking action. And that's the beauty of life. But the problem that happens with that is that a lot of us get caught up in believing that when we attain something, or if we take action based on that lack, that it will fulfill it. And what yoga teaches us is that that's actually not the case, that the fulfillment has to happen and the actions are separate then. The actions are a form of expressing what is already fulfilled. So that's a little bit of, there's a lot of philosophy wrapped up in there, and maybe I can unravel that as the month goes along, but I don't want to spend a year explaining this. However, what I'd like you to really sit down with today is why move towards flexibility? What is it for you personally? Because it's not the same for you as it is for me, as it is for everyone else here that is practicing, right? Everyone has a different intention, and some of our intentions will align. But we're in this experience together as a global community moving towards flexibility. Now, I'm going to unload my philosophy on the physical body regarding flexibility. And this is something that is coming from my personal experience over the last 12, 13 years of practicing yoga. Flexibility can be attained if focused on strength. And why that's important is because you have these there are two things that a muscle can do, just two. It could either contract or it could stop contracting, meaning it could engage, it tries to shorten, or it could stop that action. Those are the only two things that a muscle can do. I'll say it again. A muscle can do two things: activate or not activate. That's it. Now, there is various degrees of activation, so it can activate with a greater amount of force, or it can activate with less amount of force, okay? But it's either activation or not activation. And why I stress that is because a lot of people think that muscles can stretch. A muscle cannot stretch. Something else stretches a muscle. For example, gravity. If I bow forward, it would be gravity that would stretch maybe my hamstrings, right, in a forward fold. It could be an outside force. So if I put my hand on this wall back here and then I turn away from it, the friction between my hand and the wall create a stretch of the pectoral muscles. But the pectoral muscles cannot stretch themselves. They can either activate or they can stop activating. Now, it's important also to know that if an outside force, gravity, or any other circumstances cause a muscle to stretch, that doesn't mean that that muscle is disengaged or engaged. You can engage the pectoral muscles while stretching with the hand on the wall, or you can disengage them. One is called passive stretching, which would mean that the muscle is not active. The other one is active stretching, which means the muscle is activated, is trying to engage while it is stretching. Okay, we call that a facilitated stretch. And all these terms and all this scientific stuff I will be talking about throughout the immersion. Some of it's scientific and some of it's based on my experience. Okay, this is more scientific. You can everything I'm saying right now is you can activate a muscle, you can not activate a muscle, or you can AKA relax it or release it. Release the activation, I should say, not necessarily relax, because relaxation, we have an association that means that the muscle is happy, but it doesn't necessarily mean if the muscle is disengaged that it's happy. Okay, so you can activate a muscle while it lengthens, and you can relax a muscle, or you can, release that activation while it is lengthening. What lengthens a muscle? An outside force, another human being, gravity, also an outside force. One other thing that's important is an opposing muscle group can cause the opposite muscle to stretch. So I have muscles in my back called the rhomboids. The rhomboids move your shoulder blades together. Okay, so the rhomboids would move your shoulder blades together. Okay, now in order for your shoulder blades to move together, there has to be enough elasticity, as what most people call flexibility, for the shoulders of the pectoral muscles that allows the shoulder blades to come together. There are two things that need to happen, and this is really key, okay? The rhomboids have to be strong enough against the elasticity of the pectorals. So the rhomboids, the muscles in the back, have to be strong enough against whatever tension is held in the pectoral muscles in order to retract. Now, what's fascinating about that is that the rhomboids are more than capable of being contracted and actually moving against the tightness of the pectorals, even if the pectoral muscles are very tight. If you think about it, our human body can do seated rows, or we can row a boat using those muscles, right? Or we can climb, or whatever it is that we're pulling, or pull the muscles. We play tug of war. Those muscles can pull on a lot more force than the tightness of our pectorals. However, they tend to be so weak that whatever tension is resting in our pectoral muscles, the rhomboids are not capable of getting the shoulder blades to move together in the backside. And so the typical solution would be stretch your pectorals, and then your shoulder blades or your shoulders can move back. This is part of the equation, but it's where I think a lot of yoga falls short, because we don't necessarily think about, well, how do we strengthen the rhomboids? That's the other side of the equation, which is it's not just developing elasticity in the pectoral muscles that creates a functional body that is happy and healthy, but it's creating strength in the rhomboid muscles, as well as flexibility in the pectoral muscles. This is what creates functional movement. Every muscle in our body, and I'm just giving you two very simple actions, right? The retraction of the scapula is the strength of our rhomboids against the tension or tightness of our pectoral muscles. If our scapula aren't able to move in this way, it's either that the rhomboids are weak and or the pectorals are tight. But there's no amount of stretching the pectorals that will make the rhomboids strong. You have to actually activate the rhomboids. You have to use them to do what they do, which is pulling action. It's retracting your shoulder blades, which is a very hard action to accomplish in the yoga practice. So we have to find creative ways. We have to try to figure out ways to get them active. Okay, so first things first is we have to understand the movements that they do. A muscle does 1 to 3 movements, essentially. And if we understand what movements they do, and then we apply those movements into our yoga practice, then our body starts to develop what we call awareness, or let's just say awareness, or you could say proprioception, basically knowing how to activate a muscle, where your body is in space, the intelligence to activate it, okay? Now, once you understand where it is, how to move it, then it's applying resistance next. Hopefully, we do have some resistance in the opposing muscles that will actually allow us to strengthen. So if the pectorals are tight, we use that not as a disadvantage, but as an advantage to actually use that resistance to strengthen and train our rhomboids. So in a more, I would say, more appropriate language rather than flexibility would be range of motion. Being able to take your body through range of motion implies not that a muscle is just flexible, because a muscle can be flexible but have no recoil, which we could call elasticity. We want a muscle to be able to actually engage. So now if we talk about the pectorals, if we stretch, and they can never actually do what they're supposed to do, which is to contract, then it's not healthy. So, because we won't have functional movement. We won't be able to do what the body's designed to do. There's not a single muscle in the body that isn't designed to contract or relax. They're all designed by nature to contract or release that contraction. I know I'm getting pretty deep here, and this is taking a little bit of time, but I wanted to really just set you up with a strong understanding of what we're doing. It's all about range of motion and developing elasticity. So our goal for this month is to develop flexibility, the ability to lengthen a muscle, and strength, the ability to contract that muscle. Now, strength is not just contracting and shortening, but it's contracting and keeping the contraction while the muscle lengthens. And that's really our focus. That's called facilitated stretching. Being able to contract a muscle, which will bring two bones closer together, but also through movement, being able to contract that and allow the bones to move apart. So can we strengthen a muscle while it increases length? Can we strengthen a muscle while it decreases length? That to me is range of motion. Okay, you'll see that in really great movers and dancers. So like a movement artist wouldn't just, throw their arm out. Well, maybe if it was expressive, right? But you'll see them move gracefully through space, which is resisted movement. We look at it and we see, oh, they're flowing so beautifully, right? But it's actually, they're not just throwing their arm up in the air because they're flexible. They're moving, they're actually activating the opposing muscles, and the opposing muscle groups make it look graceful. It makes it look fluid, right? This is not just active through flexibility. It's resistant movement. Okay, and that resistant movement is what we perceive as flow, as beauty, as gracefulness, and that's because all what we're actually seeing is, unbeknownst to us, something magnificent. That is a physical body that is capable of contracting muscles in a shortening way and contracting them while they lengthen. That's a healthy body, or at least from a muscular system standpoint. Doesn't mean that person doesn't have injuries too, and then to not have pain and all that stuff. That doesn't mean just because someone can move gracefully that they feel good on a daily basis. It's just the majority of the muscle groups that do the movements that they are doing are in health. Now, there's probably a lot of movements they aren't doing that may not be healthy. And we have to remember that. That's why intention is important, because you can maybe do something really gracefully and still have a lot of pain in your body because you're not in balance. There's a lot of muscles in the body and a lot to get to know. Okay, so let's start in child's pose, knees wide, arms out in front. All right, I gotta get the time going here, just for myself here. Okay. Come to child's pose. And today we will stick with that awareness of the shoulder blades, start to develop strength of our rhomboids, the muscles between the scapula. The scapula are the shoulder blades, by the way. So to start us off here, what you can do is you can come onto your fingertips and bend your elbows. So maybe bring your hands a little closer to you so you can bend your elbows. And then with your elbows bent, wing them up to the sky and see if that is going to hopefully allow you to bring your shoulder blades toward one another on the back, toward the spine, okay? And then relax the elbows down and see if you can let the shoulder blades fall away from the spine and just feel what that's like. Okay. When you move your shoulder blades together, so do it again, fingertips, bend the elbows, bring the shoulder blades toward one another. When you move them toward each other, this is called retracting the scapula, retraction.
Okay, moving the shoulder blades together or toward each other, retraction of the scapula. The muscles are called the rhomboids. Okay, then release that retraction. Okay, bring the arms straight out in front. Come forward to all fours, hands and knees. And before we start moving, let's see, right now, hopefully, if you are, if your body is trained, when fours, what you're actually doing is you're creating a little bit of a push. Your shoulder blades move apart. It's called protraction. So two things that make a muscle healthy really is contraction and releasing of contraction. So I'd like you to release the contraction of the serratus anterior muscles. By the way, it's not going to be all academic like this. I just want to set you up, and we'll repeat and we'll get easier and easier. Okay, so you're going to release your push muscles by letting your shoulder blades come together. You're going to let your shoulder blades retract. Now, what's really retracting your scapula right now is gravity. Your rhomboids aren't strengthening, but what you're doing is learning how to turn off the serratus anterior and the pectoral muscles, the push muscles. Okay, now push the shoulder blades apart into protraction, separating them so you know the difference between protraction and retraction. Okay, now bring your shoulder blades together again. So melt your chest down, melt your heart down. I'm just looking at, I have a monitor over here, making sure that you can see me appropriately. Okay, then push your shoulder blades apart. Your torso rises up away from the ground. What I'd like you not to do is really try not to bend and straighten the elbows. Keep the elbows straight so you can really feel the difference between retraction and protraction. Retraction again, shoulder blades together. Protraction, shoulder blades apart. Okay, we're going to find this dance, this pulse between the two opposites. Please continue to move so you can begin to feel your range of motion in your scapulocostal joint. That's the shoulder blades as they rest on the costals, which are the rib cage. Okay, so go back and forth, separating the shoulder blades and moving them together, pushing and relaxing that pushing. Pushing to come away from the ground, relaxing, your torso comes towards the ground. All right, now walk your hands further out in front, knees back. Let's come up to Adho Mukha Svanasana, gripping your fingers into the yoga mat or into the ground. Come on up. Feel free to pedal out the legs, move the hips a little side to side. Let's take a full breath in and out. I'm going to take a quick moment to thank Second Wind Yoga Mats that sponsor these immersions. You get a discount for being in the immersion. I will be sending that to you soon. Stand by. Come forward to plank pose on the inhale. Hold here. Now separate your shoulder blades all the way. So protract, push the ground away. This is the proper biomechanics when you're doing something like plank. Take a full breath in. Exhale, knees down, lower chaturanga. We're going to do something called three-part cobra that I teach. Now, it's very hard if you're new to practicing with me. It tends to be uncomfortable the first few practices until you learn how to really kind of master this in your physical body. First, take your feet wide. Okay, relaxing the buttock muscles a bit there, relaxing your hips, relaxing your low back. Now, with your elbows up to the sky, fingertips on the ground, start by lifting your chest up any degree. Now, let your feet go wherever they go. Let your pelvis kind of go wherever it goes. Now, that's step one. Step two is to actually move your shoulder blades together and move your heart in front of your shoulders. So you're, instead of being like this, like pushing, your shoulder blades move together, your heart rests forward, which is a bit of effort in the arms. Step three will be to pull, to actively pull your shoulder blades together and actively pull your chest forward and up. Forward, pulling the chest forward by pulling your hands back, okay, and release. So that's the three-part cobra without the breath. Now, the thing is, what I want you to understand is when I say pull yourself forward, it's like trying to really, as if you had like a bar and you're trying to
pull your chest through. In fact, sit up for just a moment so you can kind of at least get that imprint in your body. So have your hands wide. This is what we just did, right? Have your hands wide. Imagine you're holding onto a bar of some sorts, or oars if you want to get creative in your visualization. And as you pull the bar towards you, imagine that the bar is like more or less fixed, and move your chest forward, but leave your shoulders behind. Okay. And you'll form a back bend with your shoulder blades together. See if you can try that. Okay. So I'll come a little closer just in case you want to see that a little more up close. Okay. So here you are. You grab the imaginary bar, and then as you bend your elbows, you pull your chest forward and your shoulder blades back. Okay. I'm going to show you from the back side. You see the shoulder blades are together. Rhomboids are contracted here. Okay, the rhomboids are what moves the shoulder blades together, and you're stretching your pectoral muscles from the activation of your rhomboids. Okay, and then release that. That's what we're going to try to do in 3-part Cobra. Come to your fingertips wide, elbows out to the sides. On the inhale, part 1, lift up. Exhale, part 2, soften your chest forward. Rhomboids passively contract, shoulder blades come together. Part 3 is to activate them. So pull your body through until your chest comes forward, and then you can rise up to any degree. And then release. Okay. Like I said, it's probably, if you're new to the practice, it's going to be uncomfortable at first. Learning how to do it appropriately. You're going to be making all sorts of weird, activations that aren't necessary. Come to all fours. And then over time, you'll learn how to do it, and it'll feel good. You can ask the other members in the group. There's a number of people that have said the same thing. If you need advice, then post your Cobra in the Facebook group, and we will support you. Come to downward facing dog. Take a full breath in and out. Right leg to the sky on the inhale. Bend the knee, open up your hip as you exhale. Just enjoy a full breath into your right rib cage. Straighten the leg on the next inhalation. Knee to chest, round the back, and protract. Separate your shoulder blades. Inhale, straight back and up. Step forward as you exhale. Come up onto your fingertips, take a breath. Gather strength in your legs, pull your feet toward each other, and press through your right heel. Place the hands on the front knee. Okay. So what we'll do now is these kind of little butterfly actions with the arms, and try to move your shoulder blades. Now, what's very important, I'm going to just come up for a second, is a lot of people move their arm but never move their shoulder blade. I posted that on Instagram the other day, is that a lot of people will move their arm bone but not their shoulder blades. So I'd like you to really focus your attention on your shoulder blades moving. So come on a diagonal, gather strength in the legs, so push through your heel. A little bit of pulling your front ribs in and take your arms out to the side. Micro bend your elbows. Now protract, move your shoulder blades apart from one another, and your fingertips will touch. Now do the opposite, move your shoulder blades together, and your arms will go back as a result. Okay, then inhale, separate your shoulder blades, breathe into your back body. Exhale, shoulder blades come together, retracting using your rhomboids. Inhale, separate your shoulder blades. Exhale, retraction. Let's do 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more. Okay, keeping your shoulder blades together, come upright with your chest. Reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to the earth.
Separating your shoulder blades, protract, plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide your hands wide, fingertips. Inhale, lift the chest.
Soften your heart, goes forward. Low ribs go forward, shoulder blades come together. Now pull your chest through your arms like you had that bar. Exhale, release.
All fours, hands and knees, inhale.
Tuck your toes, exhale, down dog.
Left leg to the sky, inhale. Bend knee, open up your hip as you exhale. Enjoy a breath in here. And out. Straighten the legs, square the hip, inhale. Knee to nose, round the upper back, and protract. Separate your shoulder blades. Inhale, back and up. Same thing, step forward, exhale. Come up on your fingertips, take a breath here. Exhale it out. Fire up your legs, pull your feet toward each other, and press down through your heel. And place the hands to the front knee. Make sure your legs are steady and strong, rooting down through your front heel. Pull the front ribs back just a little bit, but your body is on this diagonal, okay? That's what's gonna give a little bit of weight to the arms, making it a bit more challenging on the rhomboid. So if we're upright, it's less challenging because there's no gravitational pull making it hard on them. So if we're a little bit pitched forward, forces us to use the rhomboids more, okay? So let's take the arms just like bent elbows, like you're holding a big beach ball, okay? Micro bend the elbows, or not so micro bend, just bend. Okay, now together, we're gonna do 5 times. We'll do the opposite breath this time. On the inhale, shoulder blades together. Rhomboids contract. Exhale, try to keep them contracted as you separate them slowly and gracefully. It's very hard. Inhale, retract your scapula. Control the exhale. Control the shoulder blades moving apart. Slow and steady. Inhale, shoulder blade retract, rhomboids engage. Keep them engaged and like kind of move through. Imagine you're moving through resistance, like you have something strong that you're pushing against with your hands to bring them together. Okay, that's going to be your activation of your opposite muscles. Inhale, like you're pushing out into walls. Exhale, imagine you're pushing something with your hands, like a big ball. You're trying to squeeze it slowly. We'll do one more. Inhale, retract, like you're pushing outward as if you have rubber bands tied to your hands. And then imagine you have rubber bands back here and you're trying to pull them together. Retract, and arms go up. Exhale, hands to the ground. This time let's step forward, half lift. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale and bow. 2 more, enjoyable. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale. Exhale. All right, place your hands to your hips. Squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other, elbows toward each other. Again, those are your rhomboids, retracting your scapula. Now lengthen the heart forward using your back muscles. Curl all the way up to stand. Release, hands by your sides. Place the palms together. Take a moment to close the eyes. May we connect to this pulse within our heart, within the breath, within our life, and the energy that is moving through us. There is a constant pulse that we call spanda. And if we
embody that in our yoga practice, the awareness of it, the practice of it. Ultimately, it leads to a greater sense of awareness of our physical form. It allows or opens us up to new experiences in our body and in our mind and our life. Inhale, reach the arms to the sun. Exhale to the earth.
Half lift, inhale. Left foot back, exhale. High lunge, inhale, rise.
Exhale, hands to the ground.
Plank, inhale. Protracting the scapula. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips, inhale, lift.
Low ribs forward, shoulders back. Pull the chest through and up, inhale. Exhale, release.
All fours or plank pose, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Full breath in. Full breath out. 2 more, inhale. Exhale. Notice the pulse of breath moving through your body. For every inhale is followed by an exhale. Lift your heels up on the inhale, look forward. Use your exhale to hop, walk, or step to the front of the mat. Half lift when you get there, inhale. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana. Hands to the hips, retract your scapula. Lead with your heart forward.
And up, inhale. Hands to your heart center. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. To the earth, bow, Uttanasana, forward fold.
Half lift, inhale. Right foot back, exhale. High lunge, rise up, inhale.
Exhale, hands to the ground.
Plank pose. Protract your shoulder blades, move them apart. Chaturanga, exhale. Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Inhale, lift the front body.
Soften, melt the chest forward, shoulders back. Pull the heart through. Inhale, use your rhomboids to retract the scapula and move the heart forward. Exhale, release.
All fours, or use your serratus anterior to push into plank pose. Separating the shoulder blades. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Lift the heels up on the inhale, look forward. Use the exhale to walk, step, or hop. Halfway lift on the inhale. Exhale, bow. To the sunrise.
To your heart, exhale. Inhale, reach up. To the earth, bow, Uttanasana.
Half lift and prepare. Step, walk, or hop back, Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide. Inhale, lift.
Soften, chest forward, shoulders back. Pull the low belly, low ribs forward, shoulders back. Exhale, release.
All fours, hands and knees, or plank. Exhale, down dog. Please take the right leg to the sky. Inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Push down, rise, high lunge. Exhale, open up, Virabhadrasana 2. Okay, in Warrior 2, we're going to trace the horizon line, okay? So when you move your arms forward, there's something called scapulohumeral rhythm. And that is, you can straighten your front leg for a second while I explain. Wherever your hands go, your shoulder blades go as well. Now, most of the time, we move our hands and maybe the shoulder blades move. So what I usually do to retrain, help people retrain their body, is move the shoulder blades like an inkling faster than the hands move, which is the opposite pattern that we kind of want, but we're so far in the other direction that it tends to be helpful. So we do want our hands to move and then our shoulders follow. But a lot of times you have to think about your shoulder blades moving for your hands to move. Ultimately, they should be kind of going together at the same time. But in essence, what we want to do is if our hands are going outward, the shoulder blades are going outward. If our hands are going forward, the shoulder blades are protracting, going forward, okay? The ribs are back. Now, if the hands are going outward, just think about shoulder blades moving in the same direction. So when the hands go backward, this is the part we're focusing on today, the shoulder blades are coming together into retraction. Okay, that's going to be a required stretch of the pectoral muscles and a required activation, strengthening of the rhomboids. Ready to try it? I bet you are. Bend your front knee. First, just think about reaching your shoulders apart from one another toward your fingers. You might get a stretch just from like reaching outward, really being vibrant with that. Okay, so your shoulder blades move apart from each other on the back. Now they're going to move even further. As you bring your hands closer together, the shoulder blades move around the rib cage. Again, it's called protracting the scapula, your serratus anterior, pectoral muscles involved in that. And then we do the opposite. We keep going around in slow, controlled movements so you can move here's the initiation, move your shoulder blades together, then move your hands back. We'll do that with the breath, okay? Inhale. Separate your shoulder blades as you're reaching. Exhale. Once your hands come to retract your scapula. I'll say that again. Inhale. Shoulder blades apart as you come around. And then as you exhale, once the hands come in line with the shoulders, is what I meant to say, then they start to retract in the backside, rhomboids activate. Inhale, protract. Exhale. Once you get to shoulder distance, then in line with shoulders, then retract. I'm choking up on my own spit. Sorry, inhale. And exhale. Okay, now reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Put the back heel up, inhale, plank pose, protract, so push. I just want to stay in plank for a second. When we did this, shoulder blades apart, same thing here, shoulder blades apart, okay? Whenever the arms are in front, that's proper. Lower down, chaturanga. Slide the hands, inhale, lift. Exhale, soften. Now we want to bring the chest in front of the shoulders, and then we do that, we pull the shoulder blades together as the heart goes forward. Exhale, release. Plank, back to push up if you can, on knees if you like, all fours. Exhale, down dog. Left side up, inhale. Step forward, exhale. Push down. Rise up. And on the exhale, open up. Warrior 2. Okay, now you have a view of the backside. Excuse me, I'm still choking. The view of the backside of my shoulder blades. So let's actually change it. We're going to bend the elbows, make it a little more obvious what's happening in the shoulder blades. Move the shoulder blades. Something in my throat is killing me. Sorry. My deepest apologies there. Okay, elbows together, shoulder blades apart. You're going to feel a protraction of your scapula. And then move
your arms, when they come in line with shoulder blades, when your elbows come in line with the shoulders, this is the part where you really want to start to retract your scapula, okay? We call this cactus arms, by the way. Okay, then switch it, protract your shoulder blades, and bring your elbows together. Is it possible, I just want to show you, to get your elbows to touch and your shoulder blades apart from one another? Okay, then let's do it with the breath. Ready? Inhale, open it up, retract your scapula together. Exhale, close the front body, but open the back body. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. We'll do one more. Exhale. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. Step to plank pose with protraction in your scapula. Exhale, chaturanga. Slide fingers wide, inhale, lift. Soften, chest goes forward, shoulders go back. Pull the heart through, inhale. Exhale, release. All fours, inhale. Or plank, sorry. Exhale, down dog. 3 breaths, inhale. And exhale. 2 more, inhale. One more. Lift the heels on the inhale, look forward. Empty the breath, hopper step to the front. Half lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. Inhale, chair pose, but hands on knees. Pause here. Move the hips back. Okay. And those of you that haven't practiced with me before, if you're new to practicing with me, this is a bit of a doozy of a posture. Push your heels out so you feel your outer hip muscles activate. And we'll get into the hips, in this immersion for sure. Just get a little bit so you understand at least the setup of chair pose. Lean back, push the heels apart. Now lift the heart up. Sit a little lower. Keep leaning back, and now form an arch in your low back. You can place your hands on your spine. You want the spine to push forward. Once it's forward, then you can go up without discomfort. If it's not forward, then it's going to feel compressive. Okay, so forward, then up, then reach the arms into cactus shape. Retract, move your shoulder blades together, then reach the arms up to the sky. Take a full breath, lifting the heart up. Palms can be forward for this pose. Let's do 2 more breaths. Inhale. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale, bow forward, Uttanasana. Half lift, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips, inhale, lift. Soften, shoulder blades come together, heart forward. Pull the chest through, inhale, use your rhomboids. Exhale, release. Inhale to all fours or plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step forward as you exhale. High lunge, inhale, rise up. Warrior 2 as you exhale. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, side angle preparation. Forearm to the thigh, hand to the hip. Move your hips back. Turn your belly, turn your chest. Option to slide the bottom hand down, fingertips. Now, with your left hand on your hip, roll your shoulder forward into protraction for a moment so you can feel it. Then see if you can bring your shoulder up towards your ear a little bit. That'll give you more range of motion. to then retract your shoulder blade. So your pectoral muscles are going to stretch from the strength of your rhomboids, okay? You see that? So up and back. Now, keeping it back, reach your arm to the sky. Okay, and then you can kind of curl back as much as you'd like here with the shoulder back, and the pectoral muscles will be stretching and lengthening. You may or may not feel a stretch in the pectoral muscles, but they will be lengthened, which is what stretching is. The sensation of stretching is very different than stretching. Sometimes you have a sensation of stretch when you're stretching, sometimes you don't. The sensation is a warning sign, injure yourself. That's the stretch sensation. So it's saying, hey, pay attention. But if you are doing things properly, that stretch sensation may not actually happen because your body feels safe. And that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to have the body feel safe, and it will open up greater. That trust that it develops with you and the communication it develops is infinitely more important than stretching itself. Okay, and release. Place the back knee down, right foot, heel toes to the right, turn it out, and place your left hand over and out to the left. With your right hand, take your hand to your bicep. This is the bicep here. Rotate it out. When you do that, it'll be easier to melt your chest. Watch, like we did in the beginning. Remember I said we're relaxing the chest down, retracts the scapula here. The shoulder blade is going to come towards the spine, okay? Then keeping it a little towards the spine, you're going to take your top arm like that cactus shape and pull your shoulder blade. It's like this, elbow bent. Pull your shoulder blade to then reach for your thigh stretch. I'm going to show you a few different angles of me doing this whole thing. So if you've done this before with me, great. Just go ahead and thigh stretch. So here it is. Shoulder blade comes together. Rotate the arm bone out as the shoulder blade comes towards the spine, retraction. This arm, pull your shoulder blade and shoulder back. And now both shoulders are back, stretching the pectoral muscles as you go for your thigh stretch. All right. Holding here. Now, something I like to do is whatever muscle is kind of stretching, I like to activate it when possible. In this case, it's pretty easy. Your groins and your hip flexors are stretching, so just pull your two knees toward each other till your hips lift up a little bit. Then you can press your foot gently back into your hand, like 10% of your effort, not even, to activate your quads. But press your ribs and chest forward, shoulders back. Okay, release your thigh stretch. Step back, downward facing dog. Let's take one moment. Breathe in. Breathe out. Forward to plank, inhale. Chaturanga. Slide the fingers wide, inhale. Soften. Shoulder blades toward each other. Pull the heart forward and up, inhale. Exhale. Plank if you can. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Step forward. Push down, rise, high lunge. Open up, Virabhadrasana 2. Reverse warrior, inhale. Exhale, side angle preparation. Forearm on thigh, hand on hip. Okay. So let's get the top shoulder. If you're not really getting much movement, it's sometimes good to do just like shoulder rolls one way or another to try to coax some movement out of the shoulder blade. But essentially you want to move it up and then back, moving your shoulder blade towards the spine. Hopefully you can kind of see that in the back side there. Then you can reach your hand up or even back behind you for today if you want. Perhaps sliding the bottom hand down to the ground. You're in this kind of open, free kind of experience. Now the bottom shoulder, by the way, it'll tend to punch forward. See if you can move it back. In order to do so, your chest kind of rotates inside. You're going to feel your chest has to turn to the sky if you press your left shoulder back, the bottom shoulder back. Your chest has to turn. It's hard to explain that, but when the shoulder blade is fixed, which it is right now, the rhomboids actually turn the rib cage, turn the spinal column. Okay, so they are capable of rotating the trunk if the shoulder blade is fixed like it is now on the ground. Okay, release, which is very fascinating. Okay, left foot out to the left, right hand out to the right. Probably it's not the best angle for you to see, so I'm going to change angles here. Okay, so on this diagonal, I'm going to show you rotate the, well, let's do this. First, soften. Okay, so first, release the chest towards the ground. So you get that retraction of your scapula. Normally, if you're in plank, I would say keep this, but we're learning how to move the shoulder today into retraction. So see if you can soften and then rotate the arm. Okay, then that's going to send the chest forward like we wanted in cobra pose. Then reach back for your, oh, sorry, do this cactus shape like you're pulling your shoulder blade. And that kind of gets a nice long stretch like a bow. So your ribs go forward. The whole middle body goes, whole middle body goes forward as the hand goes back. Then reach for your thigh stretch. By the way, if the thigh stretch is inaccessible, I apologize, I didn't mention this. You could always use a strap around your foot. Also, if you don't have a strap, put your foot on a wall. That's another way to do a thigh stretch. So when possible, I like to try to activate the muscles that are lengthened, which we're going to do a lot more of that this immersion as we go along. But one way to do that is to pull your two knees toward each other. And instead of your hips passively stretching, your groins can actively stretch, meaning they can engage while they are lengthened. That's called a facilitated stretch. More on that to come. Your foot could also push back into your hand. There's a way to do the pectoral muscles here, but it's a little more complex. And so let's just stick with passive stretching the pectorals right now. Okay, and release your thigh stretch. Step to plank pose. Chaturanga. Slide your hands wide, inhale. Lift. Exhale, soften. Pull the heart forward and up. Exhale, release. All fours, hands and knees. All right, so the pose we just did is called Twisted Monkey. And the next pose we're going to be doing is Twisted Monkey B. Much more challenging and annoying posture. So you'll take the left leg up to the sky with a bent knee. Flexed or pointed is up to you for now, but bring the heel close to your bum. And with your right arm, pull your right shoulder blade towards the spine, okay, in that cactus shape. Pull your shoulder blade towards the spine first, then reach for your foot. Okay, you could always have a strap here. Okay, but that really is important. You have the cactus shape, and you bring your shoulder blade, okay, then you reach for your foot. Now, kick the back knee up and the back foot back and allow your right shoulder, I'm going to show you from the front side. See, this front shoulder tends to drop down. You're going to allow the pectoral muscles to relax while activating the rhomboid. So move your shoulder blade towards the spine as you kick up and back. Okay. Twisted Monkey B. And release. So that pose can be either like the worst, most frumpy feeling pose in the world, or it can feel really expansive and stretchy. It still, to me to this day, does feel a little compact. It doesn't feel compressive by any means, but compact. But nonetheless, that movement of the shoulder blade opening the chest creates a nice stretch across the front. So remember, I said muscles do two things. They either contract or they stop contracting. The thing about the pectorals, I think it's partially an emotional thing, but I'm not going to say like that's, scientific evidence behind that. But I think that we often times muscles will mimic the emotional protection mechanism. So they'll tend to feel like, oh my God, I'm going to get opened up here. So they'll, clench tight. So what happens is if the rhomboids start to activate the pectorals, there's something called, excuse me, reciprocal inhibition. That means when the opposing muscle engages, it tells this muscle to relax. So by activating the rhomboids, the muscles in the backside, the pectorals are listening, and they say, oh, okay, I'm supposed to relax now. So that's why it's important to actually not just like passively let the shoulder move, but to actually move it. And then you get that reciprocal inhibition. Okay, so let's go to the other side. Let's take the right knee up, heel towards bum. And with your left arm, I use the cactus shape to retract the scapula, turn the chest, and reach back for the foot. Okay, now it's not enough to just grab the foot and then there you are, because the shoulder will roll forward again. Gravity's pulling it forward along with the pectoral muscles. So first things first, see if you can actually move your back knee up and kick your foot back. Now actively start to retract your shoulder blade and let the pectorals lengthen. Now kick your knee back and up a little bit higher. Gain some balance in your hand and your foot. Again, you can roll your shoulder forward to feel what it's like. And then you can kind of move it up to your ear and then back, roll it back. Keeping the shoulder back, then kick up and back. I actually press my hand into my foot a little bit, and that actually stretches and activates the pectorals slightly. By pushing the hand into the foot, I can actually use that as leverage to move my shoulder back as well. Okay, and release. All right, so that's a little bit on the shoulders for today. Give them a little roll and feel what you've created. And let's come back to down dog. So hopefully you've got a little more awareness of how to activate your rhomboids in order to structure your pectoral muscles. We'll get back to this subject and we'll develop it and go further with it, see how it applies to more postures. Just take your right shin across the mat, pigeon pose. Tuck your back toes, turn the back thigh in, and move your hips back. I like to bow. So instead of bowing forward this way, I like to come back as much as possible without overdoing it, of course. And I bow typically to the left. Sometimes I like to bow straight forward too. But just giving you some tips, we'll go over this in depth. So you can let this be more passive at this point. Unless you're protecting an injury like you see. I always keep my back toes tucked, activating my back shin muscles. That keeps the front hip stretching, and it prevents me from falling into certain tendencies, which would be to kind of like roll the back leg out and kind of sit into my hip. So there's a certain amount of activation to keep the posture targeting muscles that tend to be over tight, let's say. But other than that, I'm going to try to allow the unnecessary muscles to relax, like the facial muscles, the teeth, and the forehead, and muscles around the scalp, the neck. And here's what I found in my personal practice. I find that passive stretching brings me back to my flexibility. It's never really increased my flexibility. It's only really, if I do passive stretching, it gets me back to my natural state of whatever I have. Never really increased it. It has caused injury from passive stretching plenty of times.
So I only do it just to kind of get back to relaxing my nervous system and bring my any sort of unconscious tensions to rest. But again, it's never really increased my flexibility to be passive. So a lot of what we'll do is active stretching. Come on out of it. But there are times towards the end of the practice, downward dog, where I will say to be more passive in order to relax the nervous system, and especially if we're doing postures like pigeon that didn't really have anything to do with our class today. It's left shin forward, please. It's less about the focus of today and more about preparing you for Shavasana, preparing the nervous system, not just the muscular system. All right, let's take the same journey on the left side. All things are pulsing is the message of this immersion, expanding and contraction. And a lot of the times we associate contraction with negative, bad. It's the things that challenge us in life. And when you are recognizing that all things are in that pulsation of expansion and contraction, you can start to see things as they are, which is they might be in a contracted state, meaning a challenging state for us. It might be hard for us to deal with. Or they might be in an expansive state where everything is celebratory, joyful, light, and easeful. But none of which is permanent, or neither end of the spectrum is the foundation of experience. The foundation is the pulse itself, is the spanda, that all things are moving in one direction or another, or simultaneously moving in both directions. A contraction is only leading to an expansion and a contraction and an expansion over and over and over again. We get in everything from the seed that drops on the ground at the end of summer from a flower. The seed itself is in its most contracted state, which is actually the state of most potential. And then if it survives the hard, intense winter, then it digs its roots into the ground and starts to expand into a flower in the spring. And it's full bloom again in the summer, and only to create more seeds. And that flower dies again, and the nutrients from that flower go into the earth, replenishing, fertilizing it for the seeds that it dropped, and then again and again, cyclical fashion of contraction and expansion. Come on out. And as beings of nature, down dog, we are no exception to that contraction and expansion. We see it all over our life, in everything we do, and everything that we are. Spanda. Come forward to plank. Lower chaturanga and roll to your back. Give yourself a little hug of the knees into the chest. Happy baby if you wish. And release into Shavasana. Any variation of Shavasana that you would like is welcomed. Final resting pose that will serve your body. Leave you feeling replenished and rejuvenated for the remainder of your day.
Just back to your breath. Awaken the fingers and toes. Stretch your arms. Roll to your side and come up to a seated position. Take your time. Take a moment to reflect upon how you feel. Place the hands at heart. Bowing inward in honor of this pulse inside of us that allows us to experience life itself. Thank you so very much. It's a pleasure sharing this practice with you and look forward to sharing more. If you have any questions, you have something you'd like to share within your experience, please post in the Facebook group. I'm always happy to assess any videos that you want to submit. I will happily give you any tips on your practice that you require. Thank you all so much for being here. Very excited for the next 11 classes with you. Namaste. All right, we did it. Kicking it off. So we'll be practicing again. If those of you watching this live, we'll be practicing again on Tuesday, 12 o'clock for all these sessions this month. And I look forward to sharing more. Strength and flexibility today was introduction to how to activate the rhomboids in order to stretch pectorals. We're going to get deeper into that, I believe, on Tuesday, or I might flip-flop it. Maybe we go to the hips for a second and come back on Thursday to the shoulders. I haven't quite figured out how I want to do it, but I'll let you know, in email which we'll be going towards, I think, or I might leave it as a surprise. We'll see. So let me know how you feel. Let me know if you can feel the opening across your chest, if you can feel that release there. And if you have any questions about it, please post in the Facebook group. Okay, see you soon.